Hi everybody, my name is Jessy and thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode of Difficult Conversations. I'm so excited today because I'm joined by someone I've been wanting to bring onto this show for a really long time. She is my baby sister, but as you can see, she's not a baby. It's my sister Molly. Molly, can you say hello to everybody and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Molly. I'm a sales manager in Plymouth, which is where I'm from. I'm actually on the outskirts of Plymouth. I like to say I'm from Devon, very nice countryside. In my spare time, I like to go on walks with my father. I wish my mother could join us, but she works a lot. Yeah, I miss my sister.
I miss you too. Before we start, I really feel like I need to address the holes in my wall. Nothing dodgy happened. It's just that it's a new wall and the plaster is not sticking. Molly, I kind of told you, well, first of all, I wanted an excuse to bring you on here. I like sometimes using this platform as an excuse to introduce people to other people. And so I wanted the world to see exactly why I absolutely love you. But I wanted to talk to you because, if you don't mind me saying, you have admitted that you don't really know what your path in life is. Is that correct?
Correct.
So the topic today we're going to be discussing is not having that path. And I said that I wanted to discuss it with you because it's something that I experienced pretty much all my life. And it's only really now at the age of 28 that I'm starting to discover what it is that I am trying to do or where I'm trying to go. So Mols, I want to know, when did you start becoming aware, or just tell us what it is that you know, what we've discussed, how you're feeling in terms of, you graduated, when did you graduate, 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2018, September. When I initially graduated, I was overjoyed. My graduation day was the best ever, partly thanks to you. You went above and beyond, and I thought, it's a massive achievement, you know, completing 3 years at university. As someone who didn't even think they were going to university, I thought, I can't believe I've completed this. Every stage I went through, my first year of uni, I thought, I can't believe I completed this. My dissertation, I never thought I'd get that finished, and then I finished it. So just to be able to say I've graduated was pretty amazing. But then after graduation, I kind of fell right back into where I was 3 years ago, thinking, okay, now that's over, what do I do now? So my first year of sixth form, so sixth form's 2 years, I originally wanted to do marine biology. Business wasn't something, I took business studies in A level, mostly because I like to copy Jess, and a lot of what I do, you know, I like the piano because she played the piano. So I took business studies because I knew that she did it and she enjoyed it. So I thought, why not? It wasn't my priority, but I wanted to do marine biology, so I took biology. My first year at A level, I messed up and I failed biology. So I knew from the start I would be needing to do another year. So I went into my second year of A levels, knowing I wouldn't be going to university, never bothering to sign up to UCAS or anything like that, because I had in my head, I want to do marine biology. So I need to get my biology A level. Turns out I did really well with my business studies, and I did really well in my first year. And then when I completed year 13, I did really well in that year. And unfortunately, due to some personal issues, I ended up doing badly in biology yet again. And then that's when I decided I didn't want to do biology anymore, or marine biology. I wanted to do business, and I decided on business management. So I said, I want to go to university, either Cardiff or Plymouth, and I want to do business management. And it got to the summer of after year 13. So I'd be going into my retaking year whilst all my friends were getting ready for university. And I went back to school in September, and I was really upset because I thought, I can't believe I'm back here whilst all my friends are at university and I've got to do another year. And I spoke to one of my teachers at school, and she was amazing, and she said, what's wrong? And I said, don't want to be here, I should be at university with all my friends. And she said, well, did you apply to clearing? I said, no, I never even signed up to UCAS because I had it from the start that I wasn't going to be going. And she said, oh, well, do you know what you want to do? And I said, yes, I want to do business management at Plymouth or Cardiff. And she said, oh, let me see what I can do. And in that day, she managed to call up Plymouth, and they, based on the grades that I already had and through clearing, they gave me a verbal offer but they said I needed to do my personal statement and sign up to my UCAS account. And so I did that. And then the next day they gave me my written offer. And then I need to sign up to student finance. So Miss Terry, my teacher at the time, the teacher in the TLRC, helped me out with all of that. And I managed to get my student finance. And then the week after, I went to university. And said bye to all my teachers. I said, done with school now, I'm going.
See you later.
So yeah, I've got every little bit of me to thank Miss Terry for that, because if she hadn't said, oh, let me call up the university, I wouldn't have done that off my own back. And luckily the grades I had achieved was enough. I had enough points accumulated to get into university on the course that I wanted. So yes, I got into business management, which is exactly what I wanted to do. So that was even better.
And so we were really happy as your family members, because we knew you wanted to go to university. But is that right? You actually wanted to go to university? That was the choice?
I did.
And you enjoyed business, so it was something you wanted to go into university for. Now, you knew you wanted to go to university, but did you have an idea of what you wanted to do career-wise after university?
I struggled to look ahead. So in school, it was getting through my A-levels and knowing that I went on to university. And then once I got into university, it was just completing my degree. Yeah. And I never really thought about what comes after that. All I knew is people would say, what do you want to do? And I said, business. And they said, well, business is associated to a lot of things. And I said, I know, that's why I want to do it. Yeah. But a career afterwards, I was always working alongside education. So I never really took my free time to think, what do I want to do as a career? I kind of always just went with the flow, whatever my job was, university, and just rolled with it.
And I can understand why you really enjoyed marine biology, because you were really into the sciences when you were in school. But the funny thing is, outside of school, you were always so business minded. Like even at home, Molly was so good at knowing how to make money or how to make money grow. But also just that you always had a business acumen, even when you were a kid. And I know people do that. People praise, they're like, oh, my child is a genius. But Molly, honestly, I always saw a business side to you, and that's why I'm like, oh, it's a no-brainer you would go to uni for that. And I was very similar as well. I don't know if it's because we grew up in the same household, but I was really just trying to get through the next period of my life. So it was always finishing school and doing that. And uni, for me, I think the longest time, I always just thought, oh, all my life people have been telling me I'm going to do nursing. So when it came to applying for university, I applied for midwifery and nursing. And it wasn't until I was like, when I got rejected from all the universities, I rightfully so, because in an art question, where do babies go when they've been delivered, I said the baby room. So
is that not a valid answer?
I mean, if there's a room full of babies, it's a baby room, right? I don't think anybody would trust me with their child, I don't think. But it wasn't until then that I realized, oh, I can actually do what I want to do, and which was journalism and media at the time. And I, again, like you, I never really thought past graduation. And I feel a bit guilty, because the only difference between you and I was we both went in there with the determination we're going to finish it, not really thinking beyond what we would do after we finished. And because I had met my partner, Scott, at university, I didn't have a plan, but thankfully my partner did have a plan. So I kind of just went along with his plan until I figured out what my next step was. But Mols, so when you graduated, what did you do? What happened?
At the time, I was already working part-time at the nightclub in our city. And I was VIP supervisor, head hostess. It's basically, I was a bottle girl and I was in charge of all the other bottle girls. After university, I just wanted a breather. So I didn't want to go into any full-time work. I hadn't even thought about a career. So I carried on doing that. And then one of the sales executives left just before Christmas, at a time when you really need sales executive. And my manager at the time said, look, I know you've graduated. Would you be looking to go full-time? You can still do your hosting at night and then do sales in the day. So that's how I got into sales. And so I went full-time at my job doing sales and hosting. And then I realized from that I actually really enjoyed the sales side. And again, being business minded, it was amazing to see the business grow. You know, we were going from there's 24 booths and we were selling about 4 or 5 each weekend, to when I started helping out on the sales team, we were booking out every weekend, you know. So we're going from about less than a quarter of the capacity to 100% capacity. So it was amazing to see it grow, and not just the booths. You know, once the booths grow, everyone see that they're booked out, and then the customers grow, and then it was amazing to see in those 6 months the nightclub grow as somewhere where I used to go when I was freshly turned 18, and it was so busy, and then it started to die down. It was really nice to see it pick back up again. Yeah, so I enjoyed that aspect of it.
So did it give you a sense of, wow, I'm really good at this? So you realised that where your skills lay was actually working?
Yes, I did think, I did think I was good at it. And it was good to see what I learned in university being put into a practical situation. You know, when people discuss business terms like year-on-year growth and things like that, and I'd be there feeling like a school kid, like, oh, I learned about this, I know what you're talking about. I'd sit in on the managers' meetings, because I wasn't a manager at the time, but I'd sit in on the managers' meetings and I could actually give an input and say, oh, I know what you're talking about there. So yeah, I think that job is what first showed me, actually, I do want to start a career now. You know, where growing up, you take on all these part-time jobs and they're all temporary. And that's when I thought, no, I really want to start building a career, and maybe this is something that I could go into. And
then you went into the career you're in now.
Yes, so the career I'm in now, I got a LinkedIn from the national sales manager of Revolution saying, I understand that you may not be looking for a job right now. It may not be something you're interested in, but we are looking for a new sales manager for our Plymouth branch. So it'd be great to have a chat if that's something you're interested in. And straight away I thought, yeah, I want to have a chat. So I replied, and then I had an interview once we got back from our holiday. And the fact that they recognised, because in her message she had said, when names for the position came up, we were discussing with the general manager, and your name came up in discussion. And I thought, I must be doing something right if people are talking about me. So I was very scared. I'd never been in a management role before. It was a huge responsibility and a massive step up for me, going from being a supervisor at nightclub to taking on, you know, more business to business based clients rather than just customer to business. And I was really nervous going into my interview, but I thought, you've got this. They wouldn't have asked you, you know, they wouldn't have even bothered messaging you if they didn't see potential. And luckily I got the role, and I am now the sales manager at Revolution Plymouth.
But to turn the tone a little bit, I'm so proud of you. I am incredibly proud of you. But I feel like that opportunity came because someone else saw your value. It didn't come from the fact that you valued yourself, that you were like, yeah, this is my role. Even though it was your role to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, I always kind of just went with the flow because I didn't really know what I wanted. If an opportunity came up, I'd just go with it. And that's me not really knowing what I wanted to do, and also my insecurities. Like, I think I do lack self-confidence, and so even though other people, unless someone said to me like, you should go for that role, you're fully qualified, you'd get it, you'd be amazing, it's very hard for me on myself to say, yeah, I think I could do that, I think I should apply. Even if I did know in my head I could do that, my worry would be seeing the employers, them looking at me thinking, do we want to employ her? But I just had to remind myself, you obviously do have something about you for them to have reached out. You've got to have confidence in yourself, and at the end of the day, even if you don't get it, it's all about the experience. So I went in and I did get it. So I think I just need to have a bit more self-confidence.
Yes.
And I think employers definitely see that as well. If you go in thinking, oh, I can't do this role, then, well, if you tell yourself you can't do it, then no one else is going to believe in you.
I think there's a fine balance between being overconfident and having no confidence in yourself, and you want to find that happy middle. But I'm just wondering exactly what you just described. I don't know if you've ever heard of this term before, but imposter syndrome, a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So your experience with work and with how talented you are has shown in the kind of work you produce, the kind of colleagues that you have now, you know, the way that people talk about you and see you as a professional, and yet there's still part of you that says, oh no, you know, I'm a fake, you know, or that sometimes you say your accomplishments are a matter of coincidence, when in actual fact they're not. They are because you've worked hard. How do you feel like your imposter syndrome has, now that you know what imposter syndrome is, how do you feel like it's held you back?
I definitely do feel like it's stopped me from maybe applying for certain roles. I've been very stuck in a role, and when I feel personally I'm ready to progress, I've been scared to reach out to anyone. And if, say, my manager didn't say to me, how would you feel being promoted, or if people didn't reach out to me, I'd be too scared of myself to speak to my manager and say, actually, I'd like to go on to be a supervisor or a senior supervisor or a manager. I wouldn't know how to approach the subject of I'm ready to move on, because I'd always think, what if they turn around and say, well, no, you're not ready for that. But I realise now that you do just need to reach out of your comfort zone and say, especially if you have that belief in yourself, then other people will see that. But it's difficult for me because I do fear rejection a lot, and I don't want to look overconfident by saying, oh, I want to go for this role, if people above me are saying, no, you're not ready for it. As you said, there's a very fine line between overconfidence and no confidence.
I think that going into an interview or even applying for a role that you really want doesn't show overconfidence. It shows that it's almost like it shows you that you know what you want and you're going for it. Even if I always say, like, fake it till you make it, and I know that some people have some negative connotations towards that, but when I say fake it till you make it, I mean fake it within yourself, fake that confidence, because then you'll start to find actually you are more confident. From my experience, I have allowed myself for far too long to be miserable in a role, like absolutely not unhappy, as in very miserable, to the point where my sense of worth has diminished because I have allowed myself to feel really unfulfilled in roles. You know, in order to progress and continually improve yourself, you need to always have that fear and challenge. Because I remember when I first started one of my roles that I ended up getting, several years on, I got bored of, because I had done everything I needed to do to achieve what I needed to in that role. But I remember the fear that I got, and I would genuinely go into the bathroom sometimes and Google certain terms that everybody else was using. And I think there's something quite powerful in being afraid and using that fear to improve yourself. But you are a very ambitious person, and you are constantly trying to challenge yourself, and that's why I hope that, you know, you can open yourself up to the idea that you're going to have to grit your teeth and go, actually, if I really think about it, this is what I do want. In feeling lost, though, emotionally and internally, how does it make you feel?
It gets me really down. When you feel so lost in what you're doing with your life. I mean, your job is where you are majority of your life. I'm on a 48-hour contract, probably do more than that, so I spend the majority of my life there. And when you feel lost, you come home and you don't want to socialize, you don't want to see anyone, you just want to chill out, and then you start losing friendships, relationships. When you feel lost in your job and yourself, you feel lost with everything. And it has been really hard for me, because I feel like my social life and my out of work life has taken its toll, and I do feel very shut off from everyone. You're not unhappy in your job or anything like that, but you don't feel like it's what you're supposed to be doing.
Hi, sorry, we had to change location because I got kicked out of the room I was in. So we talked about how it makes you feel
feeling lost. When did you actually, I'm curious to know, when did you start realizing that you were feeling lost in the direction you were going in your, let's just say, career or life?
Well, I felt a little bit lost after I graduated, because as I said, well, for a bit when I went into my new sales role and I was working full time, I did feel a little bit more on track, and that's when I started to see, I've got a career now, and I was working towards that. And then when I wanted to progress, that's when I started to feel a little bit lost again, and I felt like the hours I was doing were very antisocial, and it was hard for me because as much as I loved progressing in my career, my social life was struggling. And that's not just, you know, with your friends, it's with anything, friends, relationships, seeing my family. It's very hard to coordinate seeing my family because the hours my mum does, and then my sister, you live in Croydon, and then my other sisters, they work very normal hours, and then I'm always there on a different shift pattern to everyone else. And I did start to feel very lost and very isolated and alone. And over the last year, it's become very prominent, that saying, you should work to live, not live to work. And I've realised that fully now, because before, when I was working all the time, I was working with a lot of my friends, and so I didn't see it as just work, it was both socialising and work. But now I'm in a role where, of course, I'm friends with my colleagues, but I've got my friends out of work. I struggle a lot, and it does get me really down. And when I'm not at work, I'm at home, and all I want to do is sleep, and I just cut myself off from everyone, and I distance myself. And I struggle, all my friendships are struggling, my relationships struggling, and so it's work, gym, sleep, and I just don't have time to see anyone. And it does really get me down. And it's not one of those, oh, I wish people would feel sorry for me because I don't get to go out on the weekends and see my friends. It's not that at all. And I understand as an adult, you do have to make certain sacrifices. But when your life is completely changed around to the hours that you're normally doing, and when you've got a set shift pattern and you've planned your life around that, and then it all changes. When I say I barely see anyone, I mean I barely see anyone. And there's only an extent that everyone can take it until they stop making an effort with you, and they stop asking if you want to do things because they know they're just going to get the same response. And finding the work-life balance really, really difficult.
And like we used to talk a lot as well, but like we barely, this is the first time we've spoken in a really long time, because
how long is this interview? We've been meaning to do this interview for like the past month.
I've wanted you on here for a really long time, and I guess so. My question really is, what's stopping you from living the life that you want to live?
My job.
And so my then follow-up question to that is, then why don't you leave? Because you're afraid?
Possibly.
You're gonna make me cry. And what is it you're afraid of?
Not fulfilling the dream that I have in my head. I mean, I've got in my head that if I were to leave this job, there's a certain route I want to go down and certain things I want to achieve, and I'm worried that that's not going to happen and that I would have left for no reason. So I guess it's the whole thing we discussed earlier of things not being how they think you are. I mean, I pictured myself in a very different position to what I'm in now, and so I
think oftentimes, and knowing you as well since you were born, you're often very good at believing less in yourself and not seeing the qualities that other people do, which brings us back to that whole idea of a lot of the successes you have in your life, you have given other people the credit for, when in reality, at any point in life, did you realize that you didn't have to try, you didn't have to go for it. You could have easily just been like, oh, I didn't get into uni, I can't go now, so I'll just carry on doing this. But you didn't. You didn't have to have that conversation with your teacher. You didn't have to apply and do your personal statement. But all of that came from you. And I think a lot of the times, and I actually discussed this in a video I did today, where I'm getting emotional, where we are often our worst critic. It often happens as like a natural thing for us, but what's difficult for us is learning how to be our own cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And we should be friends. So in my video today, you should go watch it. We discussed basically how this idea of how do you talk about yourself and how do you talk to yourself? Because if I had to describe you, I would tell you all the wonderful, amazing qualities you have. For me, it's easy. I can list a million. But then it comes to me and I'm like, I don't know how to describe myself. And so I want to know, when you talk about yourself or when you think about who you are, which thought comes first, the positive ones or the negative ones?
I mean, I think we both know it's the negative ones.
Yeah, but they don't know. They need to know. Because I think a lot of people can relate to you, Miles. Like, I think you make yourself feel really bad for not knowing every path that you need to take. And that's life, I'm afraid to tell you. Even at 28 and probably at 30 and 40 and 50, we're not going to know every step that we're going to take. But as long as we have our goal and you have your goal, I think what's important is that we're constantly striving for that bigger picture and then remembering to enjoy the steps along the way.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's good though that you have come here today and you've said, I feel lost, and you're aware of certain situations that help you in that feeling lost. And so it's a really good way for us, off camera as family members, to be able to be like, okay, well, how can we support you through that stage? Because there are a lot of people out there who feel the same way, not just recent graduates, but even people who graduated many years ago. Especially with this pandemic that's happening, it's thrown everybody's plans through the loop. And I think that if this pandemic has taught me anything, it's that plans can come and go, but what's constant is you and your resilience. And if I have to spend every day reminding you of how amazing your achievements have been and are because of what you've done, then I'll do that. But I hope that you can take into consideration that even at 28, even though you say that I have my life together, I don't, because
I think you do.
We're just faking it until we make it.
Yeah.
No, because you know what, I had to kiss a lot of work frogs to realize what it was that I enjoy. But if I can kind of help you skip through those steps that you will inevitably take, because everybody goes through those career questions, is that you should do what you enjoy. And as for your imposter syndrome, I have no advice for that. I don't have. I want to turn it around on you. Now that you know about imposter syndrome, now you know it exists. If you were talking to a friend who had just shared with you her imposter syndrome situation or his, what would you advise them? What do you think you would want to tell them?
Stop being scared of going for what you want to go for. I feel like everyone around me tells me to stop underselling myself, so I need to stop underselling myself. It does help when you've got supportive people around you saying these things to you. It does make me think, yeah, actually, I can do more, I can progress.
And otherwise, if you don't challenge yourself, if you don't keep looking for that thing that makes you passionate and excited, you're just going to, instead of go up and up and up, you're just going to stay in the middle. Obviously, no one wants to go down, right? No one wants to go down. But sometimes there's a power in going down to remind you of why you need to work your way up, why it gives you that momentum and that it gives you that striving for what you really want. But when you stay in the middle and you're just kind of plodding along with life, there's no real motivation or incentive to go up. I really agree with what you said, about trying to get more confidence in yourself and trying to believe in yourself so that you can achieve those dreams that you have. Because otherwise, why are we living? Yeah. And you are correct, and I love what you said earlier, where are you working to live or living to work? And I kind of like saying it in this way: are you surviving or are you thriving? Because Surviving is just living your life and not really having much sustenance or nothing really substantial to keep you passionate and dreaming.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, you need to stop being so hard on yourself, because you don't have to have it all figured out straight away. One of the biggest things that I say, or I like to think about really, is that if you have it all figured out, then there's no room for the fun and the spontaneous in your life. Yeah. You know, I think the underlying issue here is your lack of confidence. But whenever you feel like you don't believe in yourself, or you feel not so confident, you need to think, well, then why have people sought after you for a job? Why did the uni want you to go study there? Why do you have the friends that you have? Why do you have a support system? We are supporting something because inherently people can be quite selfish, and so you want to support someone you really love, but you need to see that there is something to support there. And so many people are investing in you. My question is, when are you going to start investing in yourself?
Now.
You are so clever and so good, and at some point in your life you're going to have to realize that. Otherwise you're going to get used, or you're going to have people take that talent and take that passion and that energy, and that is going to improve their lives, but it's not going to improve yours. I love you so much, and you have so much potential, and you have so much to give to this world. You just need to remember that the world is waiting for it, and they welcome it. Yeah. And I truly believe that the only time you fail in life is when you stop trying. So that's why I want you to realize that it's not that you can't, which is your worst word. It's not that you can't, it's that you're stopping yourself because you're telling yourself no. I can't wait till we do this interview when you're like a CEO, or you're like this head of somewhere big, because someone
when I work for you.
Well, someone might be watching this right now and thinking, well, actually I see value in her. I want to.
I have great potential, everyone. Please.
And you want an excuse to move to London, so
I do really want an excuse to move to London. I love Devon, but I think I need to be a city girl for a bit.
I have one last question before you go. For anybody who sat here going, gosh, Molly, I feel the same way, what would you want to advise them or tell them?
It's going to sound really cliche, but do what makes you happy. If you think applying for that new job or asking for a promotion or whatever it is, if you think that's going to make you happier, then do it, because there is nothing worse than being stuck in your own head and getting yourself down about things that you do have control over, because you have control over whether you change it or whether you don't. And then the only person you can blame is yourself. And then when you are in that mindset where you feel lost and stuck, everything starts to annoy you, all the little things start to upset you, and then it's not a nice way of living. So just do what makes you happy. If you want to apply for this new role that you may or may not be qualified for, do it. The worst they can say is no.
And chances are, when I asked that question to Molly about what the worst word was, you didn't say no either. I really like that, Mols. I really like what you just said, because it's just so true, and I really relate to it, because it is the worst that anybody can ever say is no, but that doesn't mean that the whole world has said no. I want this conversation to be a way for other people to start questioning themselves and start thinking about ways that they've held themselves back. Because the beauty about being a human being and the beauty about being an adult is that if something isn't working out the way that you want it to work out, go try something else, or go try a different way of doing it. There isn't one set way that you have to do absolutely everything. And that's why they say, everybody is on their own journeys. You can't compare yourself to somebody else. I hope that this conversation has also made you realize just how much power you do actually have, and how much control you should have over your own life. Thank you so much for joining me, Mols.
Thank you for having me.
So there we have it. I got to introduce you to one of my favorite human beings in this whole entire world, my sister Molly, who is, by the way, available for work. But she does want to move to London, so hit us up if you have any opportunities that you want to swing our way. But also, I hope that this inspired some of you who feel a little bit lost and feel like you don't have a path to question yourself and question what it is that makes you get up in the mornings. It's not always the easiest thing to look at ourselves in the mirror and feel unfulfilled, but I think that a lot of the times it is those self-limiting beliefs that hold us back from what we really want. So once we can get over that hurdle, start talking to ourselves in the way that we deserve to be talked to, you'll see a massive difference in your mindset, and hopefully that will give you the confidence to start chasing those dreams that you have been trying to tuck away. So thank you again, Molly, for joining us. I really, really appreciate you being here. I can't wait because we've already come up with a second topic we're going to discuss. Hopefully it won't take another several months to do it, but we'll see. Well, there you have it. I will tag all her links below to her LinkedIn and her Instagram. I hope that you'll go give her a follow, give her a lot of support. And if you feel the same way, maybe reach out and say, there is a community out there for people who are lost but finding their way. Thank you once again. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Please stay good to yourself and we'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.